It says
I think
live up top.
All right, let me just check.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we're live. All right, Tim. Sorry about the delay, everybody. We're about 20 minutes late into this interview fiasco, so sorry for my side of the technical difficulties. We'll try to get Kevin in here real quick. If you're watching, Kevin, I'm going to send you the URL and call in, and we'll start this interview real quick. How you doing, Timmy?
We'll just blame this delay on the virus like everything else, right? So postponing everything else in my life. So
yeah, sorry everybody for the little delay, but we'll get this going real quick and talk some changes to State Wars, talk some pro talk, getting a little bit of some World Roller Game action. So, by the way, while we're waiting here, I love these State Wars posters behind you. What years are those?
So this one here is Kev's upside down now. This one here is State Wars first year, 2005, and 2006, 2007, and this one here was 2009. There's another one that we go all around the office.
Okay.
The big State Wars tidbit to say on this first poster, it has the location on the rink. We were supposed to have the tournament the first year at the Powerade Ice Port in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and it never got built. The rink still hasn't gotten built. But we put it on the poster, sent it everywhere, and we wound up moving to Chicago at the Edge in Bensenville. And luckily, no one made a big deal of the move. But that was originally where we were planning on having our first tournament.
Yeah, I remember always seeing that poster with that arena on it. And I was like, that was like the sickest looking arena ever. And then I guess it was never built. Didn't know that.
It was amazing. They had all this stuff online, like you thought it was built already. It looked amazing. And I went out there 2 or 3 times, and every time I went, there was one little thing like standing there, like a sign with a little front piece. And I was like, this is not getting done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we have posters all around the office, and I moved my desk a little bit for this just to have, I don't know if you want to see my kids' drawings and everything. So I put this angle for you guys.
Of course we did.
We love it. How you doing, Kev?
I'm doing good. I'm just happy to be here after all that mumbo jumbo going on. So
yeah, sorry about that, everyone.
You had a nice tank top on before, showing off the guns. Changed it up.
I did, and then all the Conics boys, I got snaps. The Conics boys were watching, so I had to put the gear on. I had to put the shirt on.
There you go. Love
the old Pure X shirt.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, I'm happy to be here.
Well, hey, I'm glad both of you guys could join. Again, sorry about the technical difficulties. About 20 minutes late, but better late than never. So we're here. Tim, let's get into it. Let's talk about the changes for State Wars this year. What are I know you guys have to go through this whole, thing we've just talked about, but what are the big changes coming to State Wars this year people can expect?
Yeah, obviously we're in uncertain times right now, all of us. With this nasty virus going around, it's affecting everyone's world, unfortunately. So for us, we're obviously hoping that things clear up in time that we could have State Wars. Being the end of the summer is the saving grace for us a little bit. So definitely praying every night that things get better, not only for State Wars, for everyone, but hoping that we get the tournament together. But because of the short window of time we're probably going to be allowed when this thing does open up a bit for us, we won't be able to have tryouts everywhere. We won't be able to order custom uniforms for 300 teams plus. So unfortunately for this year, we're going to have to do away with our tryouts. We're going to have to do away with us supplying uniforms for everyone, which is a huge part of State Wars, is our uniforms, as you know. And it's going to be more of an open forum where anyone can enter a team in the tournament. They'll wear their own uniforms, but they'll still go by the state rules or provincial rules. If you're from Colorado, you can only play for other Colorado players on your team. And, you have matching jerseys. We'll still put the name in it. So if it would say the Kodiaks, it would still say Colorado Kodiaks on the schedule. Everything will still have a state part of it. So, make the most of it. I mean, it'll be interesting for us just to see how the difference is anyway. So not that I'm happy we're doing this, but it's nice to get a little test of something different anyway. So some people will be happy about it. They can put their own team in and they don't have to go through tryouts. And there's always that coach that wants only their players and, wishes that we didn't give them players. And there's always some adult teams that don't want jersey. So you know how it goes. So it'll be interesting. The good parts for us are, we know after this economy is going to be an issue for people. There are a lot of people that haven't been working, like me. So, this format will make it much more inexpensive. The average price for a player normally to play at the tournament, was $310 to play in the tournament and then a tryout fee on top of it. Now it's $1,000 a team. So on your average 9-player team, you're looking at about $110, $111 a player. So that'll be better. And the other thing that we did was we changed up our block dates a little bit. So now every team has a 3-day block instead of a 4-day block. So it's one less night in a hotel, one less day away. It can help mom and dad who's struggling a bit maybe. So, we're trying to do little things the best we can to make a bad situation better. So that's kind of the big news for us that way. But I'm getting a ton of emails, a lot of great support from people about it. I've already emailed all our coaches. People understand. They still want to come. They love it. People are biting at the bit to play, like I'm sure you guys are. But the one thing that people need to know is everything else is status quo. I mean, it's still single birth year divisions for the kids. People are asking, is it 10U, 12? No, it's still single birth year. We're still going to have our awards ceremonies with the light show. We're still going to have our skills comps. We're still going to do PAMA Pro the same way by an invite. We're still going to have all the amazing prizes. Everything that makes State Wars the best tournament in the world is still going to happen. Just unfortunately in different uniforms this year, really.
Okay. I have a question. So are teams allowed to use past year's State Wars uniforms?
As long as they match, they can wear anything they want.
Okay.
So got to be matching, and we will be strict about it. I know in some other tournaments, you'll see a men's league team with all different color jerseys or inside out jersey, and it drives me nuts. It's part of the reason why years ago we started this, because I hate that open hockey look. So we will be strict about home and away jerseys. But yeah, if they want to wear last year's Colorado jerseys, I love that. But they got to match, obviously. It can't be like 8 years of different Colorado jerseys, like some pictures I see sometimes. And like a men's league at RMR, it's great. Like I see all the different jerseys. We love seeing that promotion.
I think you're talking about my team.
But it can't be, the one year the Broncos color one and the Avs color one. It's got to be same jersey.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And enlighten us. I mean, I'd imagine day to day, this has got to be kind of like you're waiting to hear what's going to happen. A lot of people don't know what's going on. I mean, like, are you talking to like officials in Detroit about, kind of the status there? I mean, like, kind of, I guess for you right now, what's your day to day look like?
Well, honestly, most of my day to day, the silver lining of all this is I'm hanging out with my kids all day. I mean, honestly, up until this week, I haven't done much State Wars work in 2 weeks. I kind of emailed everyone right when Winter Wars got canceled to say, hey, I have a family too. Like, give me a break for 2 weeks and I'm just going to shut her down. And I really wasn't in the office at all. It got to the point where I think my wife and kids were like, can you go down to the office, please? We're
not used to you being around right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. Tons of soccer, tons of basketball, bike rides. I've been rollerblading all around town. So I'm getting a little pep back in my step now with all the skating I've been doing. All those, I coach an ice hockey team. I make fun of the kids on the ice team that always make fun of roller hockey. Now they can't even skate. Like they're sitting home doing nothing. All the roller hockey kids are wheeling around the neighborhood. So that's great. I heard inline hockey sales, skate sales have been booming online with Hockey Monkey and Pure Hockey during this. I heard from buddies of mine that work for both companies saying everyone's buying skates, they're skating around, which is great. But for me, on the day-to-day side, now, once we got more involved with the State Wars side of things now this week, I mean, New York is probably the worst area right now, which is where I live. So I'm going by kind of this area more than anything, not Detroit, because when it gets better here, I feel pretty good because it's such a populated area. I spoke to the rink in Taylor. Obviously, they're hoping it goes. They're expecting us. I've even gotten some calls from out of the country teams. Rob Shelton from United Kingdom, who's probably watching now, emailed me today and said, please tell me this announcement tonight. It's not that you're canceling State Wars because our parents are going to go crazy. So they still want to come. So obviously, if it's safe for everyone and it's good to go and we're all waiting for that day, I think our numbers are going to be huge because people just want to play hockey. But we're doing our due diligence. We're asking the questions. Honestly, for me, and this is my suggestion to everyone listening to this, I've kind of shut down all watching the news. I don't read the social media about this virus. I feel like it kind of incites panic more, watching stuff every second. And for the first few days of this, I did that, and my wife was ready to kill me. She's like, "You can't watch TV anymore." So now I've been watching stuff like, Tiger King and Ozark, and catch up on all my shows. I don't watch the news. I don't care what Trump says. I don't care what the other side says. I don't care, because it sells papers or it sells internet clicks to just incite panic. You're not going to see too many good news stories, and there are good things. I've heard of in my hometown, 2 different people I know that were very sick with this, on ventilators in the hospital, not doing well, gave them that malaria drug they've been talking about and something else, and now they're fine. They total 180 and now they're out of the hospital. So you don't hear those stories too much when you go on social media, and everyone's an expert, so I don't even look at it. I just go about my business. We're staying home though, practicing the social distancing. We're hanging out in the backyard, getting fresh air, playing sports, just us, no other people, just me, my kids, my wife, and just try not to get too caught up in it, because we can't control it, other than just doing the right thing by us. So I hope anyone watching there try to stick to the social distancing part of it, because we want this thing to end. And I think the more people go out and do things, it's just what's prolonging this right now, right? I read something a scientist said a couple weeks ago, that if you could take a magic wand and wave it over the entire United States and everyone was asleep in their beds for 2 weeks, this thing would have been over a month ago. It's people going out and doing stuff and spreading it. And so, we all want this to end. So that's kind of what my day-to-day is like right now. So knowing that we're not having the tryouts is easier now for us. We're still rescheduling our Midwest wars and our winter wars, Southeast wars. We're trying to pick later dates now, hoping they happen. But obviously state wars is the big one. So, we're gonna do everything we can to make sure that's happening. And, but it's all, safety first for everyone. So.
Absolutely. We were planning on having a get together at CJ's on Fridays, and it was like, we better just not. And then we played Jenga. So it all worked out. It all worked out. I think we're all learning how to cope. We're all learning how to figure out life the way life is right now. So very well said, though.
We actually did a sniper Zoom chat like this the other night with our pro team. All but I think 3 guys were on it. And it was fun. Everyone was joking around like we're in the locker room together. I felt like maybe I was an astronaut on the moon talking to everyone somewhere back on Earth. But it was fun,
Yeah, no, it's great to have something like this too, and be able to interact with each other, and still be able to see the boys and keep in touch, because not being able to see each other, you don't really realize how much, hockey has an effect on you, and the people you see day to day and everyone that you interact with. So it becomes a big it just kind of sucks, but hopefully like you said, everyone can stay inside and get over this, and then we can get on to some hockey and playing some summer hockey.
Yeah, I'm trying to, and it's not easy, trust me. I'm trying to find the positives in this. It's, you hand the lemonade, and lemons make lemonade, they say, right? So I'm trying to say I'm spending invaluable time with my kids. We're literally playing soccer and basketball in the yard all day. We're watching movies together at night. I don't know if we've ever done that. All 5 of us on a couch together watching a movie, and we watched The Incredibles one night, Incredibles 2 the other night. Like, we're watching kid movies, hanging out, reading all our meals together, which never happens in my house. There's always one going somewhere. So for everyone that's home, I hope they take that out of this. That's the positive. And, I'm not a big religious guy, but I like to think that maybe that's God's plan with this a little bit, is to have us all slow down a little bit and realize some of the important stuff in life we're all missing out on when we're running to work and other things. And so maybe that's part of this plan with this. So just trying to find a silver lining here.
I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Kind of circle back on some of the changes with State Wars. I noticed in one of the bullets that you can have a goalie from any state. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we've always had the rule that a goalie from out of state can play on a team. Okay. And quite honestly, it was always more, if you can't find one, we'll figure it out and you could get somebody more of that. We didn't want anyone just grabbing someone. And the reason that is, as you both know, as goalies are not, there's not a ton of them out there anymore. I'm sure Kev, you see that in your leagues and stuff, probably trying to find goalies for teams once in a while. And every rink guy I talk to says the same thing. They can't find goalies. You either have an ice hockey goalie who wants to skate out in roller hockey, or you get that kid just starts playing goalie and roller and he's getting lit up by everyone and he quits. So it's so hard to find goalies. So we don't want to be, we already have such strict rules that no one else has rules like this with birth years and states. And so if someone had a whole team and they just didn't have a goalie, we don't want to lose teams for that. So we always had that rule in there. But now with this year, it probably will be more about, hey, I don't care who your goalie is, just have a goalie. Like, we're not going to be so picky. Normally it would be like, hey, have we exhausted all options to find a goalie first, and then we'll find someone? This year, we're just going to leave it open. A goalie can be from anywhere, make it easy.
Perfect. That's awesome. And also the registration deadline is June 14th, correct?
Yeah. So we tried to push it back as far as we could because, who knows when things are going to open up that people can actually say, okay, I could go to this trip. So that gives us a month and another week or so before the tournament. I mean, we're used to knowing months before who's coming. So it's going to be a scramble for me and GT in the office about getting rosters together and all that stuff. But we want
the mayor can handle it.
Yeah, Greg can handle it.
The mayor can handle it.
Yeah. I think what's good about Michigan is it's a state that a lot of our customers can drive to first off. It's a good central spot for the East Coast, for the Midwest, even Colorado people can drive there. Ontario coming down. And then for the teams that do fly, I think flights this year are inexpensive compared to other years because of all that's going on. So I would suggest to a lot of people, like, I've already booked our staff flights, like, book flights, get the refund in there. If you have to cancel, you get a credit or whatnot, and just get them locked in at a cheap price. And God forbid we can't have this tournament, which I don't think is going to happen, but then you could get a credit, or a refund, however they handle it. But flights to Detroit are normally pretty inexpensive. And then now with this, they're even lower. So that's the other good thing about this, I guess, for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say pushing it back. I mean, kind of pushing the date back and when we're going to really know what's going on with, when the quarantine's kind of done, with our shutdown is done. So having the June 14th deadline's pretty is a good realistic date for everyone to get prepared to go and know if they are going to go or not.
We considered moving the whole tournament back 2 weeks. So, why don't we just start August 7th, the tournament, and then go back. But so many places start school. I don't know in Colorado how it works, but I know.
Yeah, it's like now it's crept up to that like second week of August.
Yeah. See,
it always used to be like when Rob and I were growing up. I mean, I remember starting at Thunder Ridge and stuff like August like 22nd, 23rd. But now schools are like, I think they want to start summer sooner. I don't know what it is because in the grand scheme of things, like you start summer sooner, you end your school year. It's all comes out in the wash. But yeah, it's like mid-August now when we start. When it used to be kind of later August.
I think a lot of school, like, see, in the East Coast, it's Labor Day we start up, so September 15th or whatever is around there. So it's great.
Wow.
So everyone was like that. It'd be perfect. I think a lot of schools, my opinion is, they want to get school ended before most of the summer because they don't have to run the air conditioning in the schools and whatnot and save money on that kind of thing,
It's true.
You get into July in school, or late June in some places, you'd be, really hot. So we can't push it back because of school with kids. Then we lose kids for that. So, I mean, listen, the adults, technically, if something happened and we had to move the adults, I mean, we can move the adults back, that wouldn't affect anything. Some of the pro guys would affect because of ice, but that's a small amount. But, hopefully we'll be okay. I mean, I moved the date back one day. So we start July 22nd, I believe. So if we're not good by July 22nd, I don't think we'll be good to go by August 1st. So,
right.
I'm pretty happy with that date.
Yeah. Perfect date. So you guys want to move on to some little pro talk about some changes going on in the pro division?
Yeah. So we made 2 rule changes this year, and one we did in Winter Wars. And I believe Narch did it at Winter National because I had spoken to Darren about this before the year, about some ideas we talked about. And I believe he did it and we did it also. So the one rule change is we'll call it the rink rat rule. Okay. We had a game last year where, rink rat had a delayed penalty and they held the puck in the zone for almost an entire half. And with that rule, you're allowed to do that. And so, and I don't blame them. They thought, they wanted to kill time or whatever. So we put a rule in that now once you pull your goalie and you put the extra skater on, you have 30 seconds to gain the red line with the puck. And if you don't, it's a whistle and the faceoff start for the power play. You'll start. So, and once you gain it, you can't go back over with the old rule. So if you want to pass it around the zone, that's fine. That guys will attack that, but you can't sit back because it's just bad for the audience. And, you know, our games at State Wars, especially with such big crowds and big crowds online watching these games, it kind of looks silly. So, so that's the one rule we changed.
I had my mom texting me while I was up in the booth, like, this is what we can't stand when everybody's talking. And because it was Treft, it was Jelsic, it was George. I was just sitting there like, I'm not going to say a whole lot because there's a lot of talking heads going right now. But you're right. I mean, people watching, people tuning in. What am I tuning in for if I'm sitting here watching legitimately 10 minutes of this clock shaved off with zero action?
You can't sell the game with that. And it's funny because we were playing rink rat in the game, and I yelled at Ethan on the rink because he had the puck, and he yelled back at me, "We learned this from you." So I was like, "Whoa,
yeah.
Okay."
And I remember hearing somebody saying like, it might have been Joaquin, I can't remember who it was, but they were just saying, you know, we figured you shorten the game, we've got a better chance. So like you said, it's all within the rules that were acceptable with their strategy. They strategized to do that. But I think if that were to happen again, there'd be a lot more unhappy people because I'd never seen that before. That was so bizarre. And it was crazy. Redmond's on his knees stretching, Hawkins taking a knee, and they're just passing back and forth in their zone. I'll never see anything like it again. It was incredible.
Yeah, and we've done it, you know, in our years of. I mean, one year we won a D1 game championship at Narch, 1-0 in overtime. Pat Canoni scored it, I believe, and
pistol.
We did that, like basically we held the puck forever. It wasn't to that extreme. I don't think it was even on a delayed call. We just held the puck back and kept working it around. And but you know, now I'm on the other side of it. Running the tournament, wanting to grow the game. It's, you know, again, it's within the rules, so we had to adjust rules. Like look at the NHL is always making new rules. NBA, NFL, they're always changing their rules to to how the games are progressing. So that's the one rule that we're changing. And the other rule, which is the first one I'm announcing this one, is because you know we really raised the bar last year with the camera angles, you know, at State Wars and the instant replay and all that cool stuff. I'm sure you guys loved it. The goalie cams we had. It's funny. Cool. As we've been doing now the top 20 of all time PAMA Pro games, we've been broadcasting, you know, doing a game each day now. As I'm going through games to pick games, looking at the 2019 games as opposed to other years, it's like night and day.
Night and day. No, you're absolutely right. I noticed that because I watched a couple of these last playoff games from 2019, and then I'm reliving my glory days where we actually made the playoffs in 17 and 18. Right. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just kind of the one broadcast angle, and you got Treft and George kind of, you know, filling in time. But when you have even just like one or two other camera angles, it brings a whole new element. It brings a whole new sight line to the way we're seeing the game. And when we can look back on a play that just happened, like it's almost like you take it for granted when you're watching regular sports because it's always been there. Right. And so now for our sport to have that ability, it enhances it so much. It makes it so much more watcher friendly.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, and we got better as it went along. You know, from the first game to the second day. You know, George and Trefty got more used to it. The camera guys got used to it. You know, I have George Brown already all over me. I'm getting a telestrator this year. He wants to have up there. You know, he wants
to love it. That's amazing.
So you know, George. So you know, we're gonna do it. You know, we'll do anything. I want to raise the bar. It's funny, like so watching the games. I feel like I was watching. When you watch an old Star Wars movie to a new one, like the different special effects, I feel like I'm watching the games today. And I was like, wow, just from 2018 to 19, it's world of difference. You know, I was watching a game today. It's a future game coming up where Steve Oleski with PAMA scored a nifty backhand goal. And they're right at it. And I was like, oh, I missed it. I'm about to rewind it. I'm like, wait, maybe there's a replay. And the replay came on, showed it a great angle of him scoring. I'm like, that's so awesome.
Right on. Yeah.
There were kids at State Wars last year. And this is the truth. They sat in the office with me because we had a big screen TV in the office. I don't know if you remember, and the games were on, and they were watching PAMA Pro games instead of sitting out in the stands. They were in there watching it because they wanted to hear George and Trefty and see the instant replays on the big screen, which they couldn't do it watching from the stands, obviously. So
It's
Nice.
true.
it's pretty
I mean,
fun.
the lives, it's phenomenal when you're watching it. It's like, you're right there. Like you said, the instant replays and the different angles with the instant replays. It's sick. We haven't seen that really in the sport. So it's pretty awesome.
It's great for family, and especially how big we've gotten internationally. I mean, we had 11 different countries at State Wars last year. And before all this happened this year, that was going to grow this year. I was talking to new countries this year wanting to come. So it's pretty cool. When we were in Barcelona last summer, I can't tell you how many people came up to me from other countries and was like, State Wars, PAMA Pro, like they were just talking about it. Like, wow, that's pretty awesome,
That's cool.
But with that new rule, I didn't get to the new rule. So the new rule for this year is, it's not really a rule, but we're going to, in the playoffs, every goal is going to be reviewed. And for obvious reasons, us playing black ice in the championship, we scored a goal that was reviewed by the refs and they allowed it, which watching the review, it didn't go in, or though it did go in, they called no goal, right?
But vice versa. Black ice scored.
Yeah, it should have been a goal,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
called no goal.
Yeah.
Which obviously me
Take
watching the game
Gerger.
afterwards, I feel terrible watching that. No matter what would have happened after that, you could argue all day long, but it still stinks that happened in a big money game. But again, we learned from that now, and now we have the ability. Now we tested the whole process with the instant replays and the camera angles and the goalie cams. So now I feel confident this year, come playoffs, every goal is going to be reviewed upstairs, and then they'll call down quick, good goal, just like the NHL does.
Who's upstairs?
Probably be for the pro games, probably one of our head officials doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know George will want to do that, but he'll want to get paid extra for that. I'm not paying him extra for that.
What about
What's his contract look like? Is it this big? Oh man. But that all being said, that transpired in that game last year, and you're in a unique position where you're behind the bench, and it is your tournament being played that you're coaching. That all being said, you have the utmost faith in the guys who have the orange stripes on, and I know working for Darren and working for Ronnie, it's the same thing. They don't have these guys doing these games and in these big moment situations if you don't have your faith in them.
Right.
Yeah, maybe Renew and whoever was doing that game. I don't know if it was Sarter. Maybe a little bit of a brain fart. That being said, who else are you going to have do that game?
Yeah, it was Renault and Tudor Floro, both
Okay.
ref the highest level any of our refs.
Tudor. Okay.
And it just was one of those calls, and what I really gained a lot of respect for Renault especially was we were together, I don't know, it was 2 nights later at a staff party and everything, and he was like downright depressed for like the whole week about it. Like he was so upset that he missed that call, because he doesn't make missed calls, so he's just such a great ref in person. I heard for him, and I told him, like, hey, mistakes happen all the time. NHL has to go to review. We didn't have review. So the best in the world in the NHL miss calls. So it stinks. It stinks more that I'm on the bench. It's funny. I tell all the other coaches before the tournament every year, if anyone has a problem with me coaching in my own tournament, just say it and I won't coach, because it's the last thing I want is have any issues. Obviously, I think we've won 4 of the last 5 Narch tournaments I've coached at, so I don't think we get any favoritism. That's why we win if we ever win, so it is what it is, but people are always
team's
going to
pretty good.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
I didn't control the refs in Barcelona or in Slovakia either, so, you're going to win games, you're going to lose games. And it stinks because some people make a comment to you. I could be playing 45 and over and someone make a comment. That's how people are. And then they tell you later they're only kidding, but it stings a little bit. But I love coaching, I love being around the guys. I don't think it'd be the same without me there. The guys, they think of the snipers, they think of me. So hopefully continue to coach that team, and we're going to keep making rules to make it as great as we can. And I think both those rule changes are going to help this year fix issues that we had last year.
It speaks to Renault's character too. I love that guy, and I love that he is a part of, our sport. He refs at the highest level of our sport because he is a hell of a ref. He's one of the most, nonpartisan refs. And so just speaks to his character that, he was eaten up about that inside. So
Oh yeah.
Shout out Renault.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
With the pro division though too. I mean, we're so excited for this year, like changes, right? I mean, you guys talked about, Ethan leaving Rink Rat going to PAMA was a big change, and then this damn virus happened there because everyone forgot about Ethan's move, I think. But that's a big change this year. PAMA is always a top team. So now you had a great player. That's a game changer for them there. I know our team, we're expecting that Matt White back this summer, who we didn't have last summer.
A little
lethal.
Yeah. He's a pretty good player. And we were able to do pretty well without him last summer, but so having him back is big for us. I know every team, I don't know who exactly, we're going to start getting just a little bit more with the coaches about what are the changes. I know talking to Dan Maxwell, Rink Rat, with Ethan leaving, they have some changes going on there. They're going to do some things there to make that team stronger. And I think they will. Black Ice is always Black Ice, and they're strong no matter what. I know Alkali, with Joe Cook, I think they're probably the most underrated team in the pro division personally. And when I say underrated, I just mean people just don't talk about them enough about, we beat them in the quarterfinals last year and it could have been the championship game. I mean, I think
that was an unreal game.
Went to overtime, right?
Yeah, overtime. Chris Terry scored in overtime. And I mean, we easily could have been out that game and they go on to win the whole thing. So I think
come to play on Sundays.
Yeah. And they're a great defensive team, obviously just well-coached team, great team. Connex, I mean, you guys.
Hey, there are a lot of teams that finished ahead of us that you can talk about. You don't got to get biased over here. We got some figuring out to do this year.
Yeah, you guys, but it's funny. You guys are that team that people go like, wow, this speaks volumes of how strong the tournament is when Connex wasn't in the playoffs.
Very true.
But, I know every time we've played Connex at the PAMA Pro, we didn't play you guys last year, but the other two times were like battles. And I think we battled at Narch one year in Atlanta. So,
right?
Yeah, So those are always battles there. The Roadrunners, that young team that every year is getting better, and the younger players are getting a little bit older, so they're more experienced. The Joey D and the Max and the Corso and some of those young guys they have.
Having Keith back there as well too, that's huge.
Keith helps.
Yeah,
Keith helps a lot.
Another great goalie. So yeah, I mean those are all. And then the Border Cats. The Border Cats. State Wars has always been their tournament. When it was the state rules, they were like the favorite to me because they're all Michigan guys. And then they knocked us out a couple years in the quarterfinals, which was a big step for them. They always play well against Alkali. They're just a really good team. They have so many good young players. So I've been watching a lot of PAMA Pro games lately, doing this countdown. Yeah. So I'm kind of refreshing my brain about these guys.
I can tell.
The game today was a good game of PAMA, Lebeda Shakers, and Alkali.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I didn't know the Shakers went up.
Oh, man, that shook, no pun intended, that shook everything up. That made Alkali lower to have to play the Snipers the next day. That game was crazy.
Well, the game that affected that was when Alkali lost to the Wings in a shootout. That was the game changer.
Oh, okay.
They beat the Shakers, but it was a good game. The goalie played great. The Shakers have a great goalie.
Alkali ended up coming back.
That's the thing, when I'm doing this countdown, I'm doing stuff like, wow, we had Alkali Grizzlies win their first game last year. I won't mention who they played, but
I had the best seat in the house. It's all right. All right.
So you had Alkali Grizzlies win a game. We showed Sweden winning there 2 years ago, their first game ever against the Roadrunners. The Wings last year beat Alkali in that shootout. Excitement, I think 2 years ago when they beat Alkali also in a shootout. I know George was going nuts about that.
Brett Humes.
So yeah, it's pretty cool when teams are so pumped just to get that first win. That first win. I know talking to Dennis Jelsic from that Alkali Grizzlies, just to get that win meant so much to those guys. Just get a win, because it's so hard to get one.
It's a monkey off your back, man.
Yeah, and I was talking about it with who was I talking about the division with the other day? Forgot who I was talking with, and we were just saying how it's so hard that if you're not a favorite, you win a game and you're like, all right, I got to win now. You got to get another one, like, and then you win that, and you got to get another one, and if you're a new team, you got a tough schedule. Like the schedules are tough, if you're playing a Snipers and an RPD or a PAMA or a Black Ice, if you're playing two of those four, it's tough,
There's 0 games off.
Yeah.
There's no gimmies.
No.
There's no gimmies whatsoever.
And when we created this division in 2015, honestly, that was kind of the concept behind this. And the invitation part is, I was seeing there's too many not pro games to me in pro sometimes, so we wanted every game to be a game, and for the most part at the PAMA Pro Invitational, the round robin games are just as good as the playoff games,
Yep.
because there is a Sniper Black Ice game or a Connex PAMA game. Like you see those games, where sometimes you didn't see that in the past, it'd be a lot of easier games and then finally get a good game in the playoffs. And we want every game to mean something, because we got big crowds there, and the longer games and the invite part of it. Now some teams don't get in, so their better players jump on other teams and make them better. And the longer games, you need 3 good lines. You need 3 lines at this tournament to win. Anyone thinks they're going to come in with 2 lines and win, they're crazy.
Yeah.
Right, Kev? You see it.
Yeah, 100%.
How does the for some
100%.
people that might not know, how does the invite process work for the Invitational? How can teams, if they want to enter into the pro division, how are they able to do that?
So good question. So the 8 teams that finish in the top 8 from the year before are in.
Okay.
And what we started doing 2 years ago, which I think is a great concept, just like World Championships, is they're seeded now 1 to 8. So going into the seeding, it's not like, all right, now Ethan left this team, he's here, they're strong. It's not that. It goes by your seeding. So it's only fair way to do it, because then it becomes who's picking the seeding and Tim's doing it or this guy. So now it's just how you seed the year before. So that's 1 to 8. And then the 4 new teams, they apply. They write us an email. They say they want to get in. We make them give us a snapshot of their roster. And then we compare and we say, who's the next 4 best teams here? And we've already had, I think, 6 teams apply for next year. I mean, I'll tell you, we've had, Connex didn't seed this year. So, they want to come back. Alkali Grizzlies want to come back. The Beta Shakers want to come back. The Sweden team, I believe, wants to come back from 2 years ago. And then Rink Rat Detroit just started a new team. Some of those guys split away. Perry and Hodge and some of those guys.
Hodge, Schultz, Malinsky.
Yeah, so they have a team. They want to come, and then George Brown. Excitement. They want to bring something. What I'd love to see personally, and I've told these guys this, I'd love to see some of those guys put their heads together and say, hey, why don't we take our best players each and work together and because it's hard to come in as a 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th team and win, so, but if you have that 9th seed team and you come in with some other guys from one of those other new teams, you may be a top team suddenly. So that's what I love to see happen. But obviously it's hard when you coach a team, you don't want to cut into your players or you don't want to share the bench with someone else. And I get it. But I think that's what would make it smart for some of these guys.
I heard rumblings Fiala's trying to gather his Czech boys
That'd be
for
cool
the Shakers this year.
Yeah, that's what he told me. The Lebeda Shakers, the gentleman that runs the team, after last year, he was so thankful, for the tournament. It made me feel so good. I mean, he was like hugging me after the tournament, and he just said how amazing it was for the team. And talking to Martin, so I didn't know Martin that well yet, and he was saying the same thing, like World Championships is obviously World Championships because it's the World Championships, but this is a tougher tournament, like overall from head to toe, and they didn't even know what to expect. So now they kind of know. And so Martin, and we exchanged some emails, and he had said, yeah, he's already had, well, this is before the virus, so who knows, but he had said he had gotten some commitments from some of the Czech players who Kev will tell you is just an incredible team. About wanting to come, and I was trying to get the whole team to come. We had Team Finland a couple years ago wanting to come, but then some dates we had issues and stuff. So,
like Team Finland from Double Eyes, you guys played a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Wow.
Because once Double Eyes went away, there's no Double Eyes now. So some guys might be looking. It all comes down to dates with ice hockey and summer vacations for some of the guys that they play pro ice and they have that summer break. They do other things. It'd be pretty cool if you saw a Team Finland, like their full team, or Team Czech. They're playing, our teams individually. It'd be pretty tough.
Yeah, that would be cool to see too, because it'd be kind of like a warm up for them to go to the World Roller Games. When is that, in September or August?
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this year, it was supposed to be in July, but they postponed it. So now I think the women's are supposed to be the end of August and the men's the beginning of September. I think USA pulled the plug on the junior program for this year, just because September's just not going to work with kids going back to school and ice hockey and everything else. So it wouldn't make sense just to try to throw a junior team together. So men's for now, we're on. I mean, anything could change, obviously. I talked to, Charlie Scrillo, who's our manager of my group. And, we said, let's wait and see what's going on. The big thing is, if we don't go with a team, let's say USA said, you know what, we don't want to go this year. If we don't go and they have the tournament for next year for the World Games, which is the big one, I believe we get regulated down to the lower bracket because we didn't compete this year. And which would mean, I happened a few years ago to the team where they're playing, India.
Where Hawkins has 20 goals in a game.
Yeah.
Like 41-0.
Yeah, and I don't think I could sit on a bench for that, So
No.
I don't want to do that to another team, to our guys. So the last thing we want to do is have that. So if there's a tournament, we're going to be there, and team hasn't been officially announced yet, so I can't get into that part of it, unfortunately, yet. But it'll be, majority of the guys from last year, and with a couple changes. But excited to get back to that, and I'm hoping that it happens, because I'm sure Kevin will say as well, it's one of the greatest experiences of my life last summer in Barcelona.
Absolutely. We'll leave it at that. Absolutely. Hopefully the world. So what, this year it's the World Games?
Yeah. Well, this year right now, 2020 is the they call it it's just the World Championships.
Okay? World Championships.
But it's just hockey. It's just hockey.
So then that one next year that you're referring to is referred to as
World Games. There's three things to try to clarify it. So there's World Roller Games, which is what we won last year in Barcelona, which happens every other year, which is all roller sports. Okay. Which we didn't really see any other sports where we were, but skateboarding and figure skating, all crazy stuff was going on.
Me and Junior and PJ watched some deck hockey, and those guys were getting into it. So it was all I think down the beach, speed skating was going on.
Yeah. So I didn't get a chance. It was so hot, we weren't going too far. We never got out to see other stuff, unfortunately.
We're focused on what we're doing, and with our group, it's tough. It is tough when you're in a city you're not familiar with to be like, hey, let's go see these guys who we don't even know any of them.
Right. Yeah, so that was World Roller Games. So that's every other year. So in between those 2 years is just the World Championships, which is just hockey, inline hockey.
Okay.
So like Fears was. That's just what that is in between. So that's what's in Colombia. And then every 4 years is the World Games, which is for sports that aren't in the Olympics, that are trying to get to the Olympics. Like I believe this year lacrosse is in it, inline hockey. There's been years where soccer was in it before it was in the Olympics, and softball and a ton of other. If you go to the website, you can see a million different sports that are in it. It's pretty cool, and that's the big one. I've never been a part of it. I know Greg Thompson was in it twice, I believe, as a player. 100,000 people at the opening ceremony. It's not like the opening ceremony we missed last year, Kev. This is like the real deal, like the Olympics. Like everyone's walking around together, and
you're not missing it.
No, you're not missing it. The cool part is it's in the United States next year. It's in Birmingham, Alabama, which is kind of a weird spot, of course. And I would have enjoyed it being in another country, going somewhere. But for us, sorry, phone ringing there.
Somebody's watching you right now, and they're like, "I'm gonna get him on the phone."
Yeah. Yeah. But for us, it's cool that it's in the United States, because maybe it'll add some attention to it for us. And who knows? It's in Alabama. Maybe there'll be some states or people that'll go travel and watch us and stuff, which would be really cool. Obviously, for family members and friends of ours, it's a lot easier for them to get there than go flying to Barcelona or Colombia to watch us play. So I mean, that's the biggest thing I've been trying to do through State Wars, through that platform I have with Team USA, is just try to bring attention to what we're all doing with Team USA. Because a lot of people don't know about it. Last year, if you guys remember, I was doing those Instagram updates every day about the team and stuff. We had thousands of our people reading them. And I got a lot of emails after the tournament, like a parent manager of, say, a youth team, say the Colorado 02 team, saying, hey, the whole team came over our house and we all watched the gold medal game together as a team, rooting for you guys, stuff like that. I thought it was so awesome, because I think most of these kids never seen that before or watched that or even knew about it, So that's what we're trying to do on the women's side, the junior side, the men's side, junior women's, just raise awareness of what's out there and hopefully get more attention to it and get more kids involved.
Yeah, no, it's what you guys are doing with it, like last year, like you said, the stories and keeping people updated and letting them know. I think that's huge because not a lot of people have insight to what it is, kind of like what you described. So
did you enjoy reading that stuff, Rob, and watching and stuff last year?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how I kept up. And, I was always either trying to text Kevin's fiance or trying to, just to figure out what's going on. And it was awesome because it was like a full blog of what was going on, detail, when the team got there to your practices. And then you got to see the video of it too from Colby that kind of followed Chavo around.
Yeah.
That was really cool because you see the blogs and then you see the video and then you're like, oh, you kind of put 2 and 2 together. You see you guys playing and it's really cool. So it makes you kind of feel like you're there with being obviously here. So I loved it. I thought that was awesome.
It would like low key pump me up too. I'd be reading it like,
Yeah.
Tim's got the boys going. Like it pumped me up a little bit. I don't know about anybody else, but
I'll tell you a funny story that involves Kevin. So our first meeting, when we all got there, everyone's coming from different places and, different buses. And it was crazy trying to find each other to get on this bus. And, we get to the hotel and Kevin's already found a sushi place across the street with Siggy and they're having sushi. And, so everyone's all over the place.
Siggy found a little sushi place. He told me I don't do McDonald's. And so it's like, I'm just rolling in your coattails, buddy.
So we had our first team meeting at the hotel. So we found a quiet spot downstairs where I'd get all the guys together and I want to introduce them to Charlie, our manager, and just kind of give that talk about this is what's expected of everyone. And that's why I first announced what the name of the lines were and stuff. And I know you liked Rob the Hollywood and all that stuff. Like, so the guys are getting all pumped and,
Hollywood.
But Kevin, as one of the 2 goalies, him and Chinny were the 2 goalies. And, going into it, Greg and I were just both like, hey, we got 2 great goalies. There's no one's better than anyone else. We're just going to roll the goalies and we'll see how it goes, So we get out there and I start thinking about on the flight out there, how hot it's going to be. And I tell him and Chinny, I grab them both and I go, hey, just give you guys a heads up. This is what I'm thinking. Every game, you're going to split in half. One will start, the other will play the second half, And I think they both looked at me like I was kind of crazy. Like, we're not 8, Tim, like we don't split games in the middle here, and the games aren't that long, but they're pretty long. First game, I don't know if it was the first game or first practice. It might've been the first game.
Practice.
It was practice.
Yeah,
okay.
Practice.
First practice.
We're talking about practice.
Okay. We're dying. I'm sweating. I'm not even skating. And Kevin looks at me and he's like, I think you made a good call with that splitting the goalie thing, So, and then the first game, I don't remember I think did Chinny start the first game?
Chinny started, yeah.
Okay. As soon as we switched, it was like, thank God, jersey off, pads off, ice pack, getting rescue to give him ice and, cool him down. And I think other teams were taking notice, Kev, right, of us.
Yeah. And
I don't think anyone else was doing it at the beginning, but by day 2 or 3 of the tournament, I feel like every team was doing it, right, Kev?
Yeah, because I think before we played Canada, Spain and France were playing, and France's goalie had passed out.
Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
And then right after that, I don't know if it was a delay of game penalty or something, but Spain got put on the power play. New goalie comes in, boom, they score a goal.
Right. Yeah, no.
So yeah, it was, and I think I told you too. People. My teammates and a couple other people at what was it, Ice House in Indiana? Mm-hmm. They're like, man, it's so hot, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God. And just kept looking at them like, I'm pretty comfortable, all things considered. Like, I am not like my gear can actually be dried again without like a whole day and a half of sitting with a blow dryer on it. So yeah, it was another threshold for sure.
Yeah,
It was another threshold of heat and knowing, like kind of mentally knowing like, yo, you got to kind of keep pushing through it. But yeah, like you said, grand scheme of things, I think you made the right decision. So
It's funny you
Coach,
say that because it's funny you say that because when we got to Fort Wayne this year, that was our third time in Fort Wayne, and it was the only time it was ever warm in the building was this year, and
yeah,
coincidentally, the building got sold right before our term, like weeks before. So they denied it, but I still say that they turned some stuff off because they didn't want to pay bills, the old owner or whatever. They kept telling me it's the same, but I know it wasn't. But same thing, like I knew it was hot compared to what it was, but coming from Barcelona, I'm like, guys, you guys don't know what hot is. Like,
no, exactly. Kettler's not walking around with his shirt off and a fan on his phone, like, fanning himself.
Right.
That's my gauge of hot now.
But even Slovakia, when we played in IIHF in 2017, same thing. IIHF, that was my first time there, and I heard all these amazing things about it, and it was great. But we were in one of the KHL rinks in Slovakia, so beautiful complex, and it was just as hot, if not hotter, than Barcelona was in the rink.
Wow.
Okay, they turned off all the air conditioning. Okay,
it's a big building.
To the point where Troy Redmond was one of our goalies, and he has heat issues to begin with, but we had to have a fan on the bench, and then you got to go to the locker room between halves. He'd have his equipment off and a fan on him, and then even I think Jerry, our other goalie, was doing the same thing. I mean, it was so hot, and there were kids in the crowd with no shirts on, fanning themselves. I mean, I remember Joe Cook and I wanted to go. We both love to go watch games and take notes on teams. We were having trouble doing that, just sitting in the stands because it was so hot. So what happened was, Dan Brennan, I don't know if you guys know Dan from Colorado.
DB.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who's the best. USA Hockey put a lot of money into that tournament, and they had a meeting, and he basically told these guys, like, someone's gonna die. Like, it's gonna be heat stroke. Like, you need to turn the air conditioning on. So for the playoffs, it was like amazing. Like suddenly a switch went on, and you felt like you were at an NHL game. How cold it was in the rink for the playoffs. Like it was so amazing. Like how that's all they had to do, and it would have been so great the whole time. But I was used to that. Like what made Barcelona hard was the sun coming in, Kev. In the glass. It's funny. We played the 8:00 game every night.
I think it was 9:00, wasn't it?
9:00. We had the night game.
It was the late game every night, and beforehand, I was just like you. It was kind of like, why are we so late every night?
I was mad about it.
After the first night, I'm like, oh, I'm fine.
Blessing.
We can do this every night.
We played the late game every night.
Yep.
And every game, the late game. So I was like, it's ridiculous. We want to go out for a good meal, do whatever. And luckily, like, the boys found this good Italian spot. We went to the same spot, I think, every single night, right? And they waited for us. But it was a blessing in disguise. I couldn't imagine playing like the noon game or something. Like I don't think they held games in the middle of the day some days because it was so hot.
I think there were 1 or 2 days where they were like, we had to delay this game because somebody like passed out again. Like it was just another thing. It was another thing on the day's like agenda that would happen out there.
One day it rained on the rink, Kev. Remember that?
Oh, that was before our first game.
Yeah. Did you hear that story, Rob?
What was it? Did they just not have like a cover on the side, or
it was raining, and like the things that they can like go
sky
from
roofs,
here
like
to
open.
turn, they didn't do that, and it just started raining and pouring on the rink. I remember Tanner Toohey texted me. He goes, "What the hell just happened? I just saw a bunch of water fall onto the rink." And
we were sitting in the stands watching the game before. And all of a sudden I see stuff, and we thought it was dust. And we're like, it's raining in the rink. And what didn't make sense was someone just dropped the ball because, clouds were coming in for hours. Like, you knew this storm was coming, and it wasn't like it just suddenly started raining. And it didn't rain at all the whole time there, except that one time. And all they had to do was close, I guess it was electrical or whatever, to close these things or something to turn. And then they closed them quick, but it was already, so they had to dry the whole rink and whatnot. And the rink was a little wet in our game after that. But it was just, just another one of those things,
add to the story.
Just another one of those things like trying to get snuck into the rink for the women's championship game because we're the next game.
Yeah.
That I almost lost my mind that night because there was another incident where I had to like give Marley money and like see my family real quick, and they wouldn't let me like back down. Like I went every different avenue. And finally I looked at the guy and I'm like, look, like I am on this team. Like I'm on Team USA. I am playing in the next game. And the guy looks at me and goes, you don't have their outfit on. Because I had a different shirt on because I was sweating into the other shirts.
Right.
So I finally had to look at this guy and be like, are you crazy? Like, dude, I need to get down here right now. And he finally let me down there. But man, it was a chore. It was ridiculous, man. So yeah, it was interesting times in Barcelona. I had a lot of fun, but it was definitely, it opened my mind a little bit to the way the rest of the world works.
And I heard Colombia would be just as hot, if not hotter, from what I was told by people that.
There you go. Let me get up to that next threshold, Tim. Yeah. You know, if I'm selected, let me get up to that next threshold.
It's my understanding that next year when World Games is going on, World Roller Games is in Argentina. And I heard they're looking to hold that in September or October, like later because of the weather and whatnot, because I guess their winter is our summer or whatever. So that would be held later, which, works out with the tournaments and whatnot, but it'll be a lot next summer because you'll have World Games and you'll have that. And who can do it's a lot,
That's a big juggle.
Alternates for different teams, World Games, I think is the one everyone's going to want to go to, and I think with World Games also, I think the U.S. Olympic Committee, chips in financially for that, so I think it's not much out of pocket with that team. So I'm sure some of the guys that couldn't do that, so if I'm still involved, hopefully if they don't fire me or whatever as a coach, there'll be a lot of tough decisions, I would think then, because if everyone wants to play, and it's the big one and it's in the United States, you want to have the best team possible. So
absolutely,
it's going to be a lot of, we're watching PAMA Pro games very closely this summer. That's basically our tryout now is PAMA Pro.
What's
Go ahead, Robbie.
So what's one of the advantages to having the this tournament later in the year this year for Team USA and you being the coach?
Well, I think it definitely doesn't hurt if the guys, if tours and state wars all go off, if guys get to play in multiple tournaments and just get playing a lot more before, that would be great, because last year it was, beginning of July, I think a couple guys might have played tours and went right there. So they missed Narch and, state wars hadn't happened yet till after. So some guys didn't play a ton before. I mean, we only got to practice a few times. So that could help. It would hurt if none of the tournaments happened and then that just happened and you have to go right to that. That would stink, I don't think that. I think if state wars doesn't happen, that's probably not happening. But, I think, later's okay. I mean, later works great for my life, with the tournaments and, getting a break and then getting to go away, as opposed to everything being, Kevin with his job have to go to, whatever tournaments they go to and then state wars and then go to World. It's a lot for your boss to give you off all that time. So to have it 2 months later I think is a blessing for some people for their jobs and stuff, or their wives or their girlfriends or whoever, kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because it was in the middle of summer last year. So middle of the tournaments and stuff. So you might not be able to go to some tournaments and you can go to others. So maybe, like you said, that might help people, be able to go and afford it even more to go there.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out now. Like I've been talking to the World Games guys about dates with that because, last time they had it, it was right during state wars and affected players, and if I'm going to coach, obviously I can't go if it's during state wars. So they kind of give me a date. So it may be around the beginning of state. We may have to bump state wars back a few days start if it's going to be where they say, so I could be there, and, don't want it to be during PAMA Pro, obviously, so trying to plan ahead if we can. But I'm excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's always awesome getting to see you guys out there representing your country and seeing, trying to bring back home the gold medal. What's one of your favorite things about representing Team USA as the coach?
Well, I think it's great just to get to coach different players, different great players I normally don't get to coach, and be around and get to know, like Kev will tell you, like,
this guy,
you get a good bond with everyone after all that time away like that. We're having meals together, everyone's together so much. I mean, them as players more than, I mean, Greg and I kind of gave them their space, so we weren't with them every second, but, being around the guys. And then, there's definitely a pride of I'm the USA coach at the tournament because we're a pretty good team. People respect us on the sport. One of my favorite things I said to the guys when we had that meeting that day when I talked about joking around with Kevin is I said to everyone, like, just remember there's 2 coaches, there's 2 goalies, and there's 12 players in the entire country that are here representing, So for me to say I'm the only head coach in the entire country that's coaching the team is pretty special to me that I'm selected to be that guy, because obviously a million people that could do it, when Joe let me in with Slovakia, get that opportunity was great. You think of that IHF team, years before that, the assistant coach of that team was John Cooper, who coaches the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was the assistant coach of the IHF team, 5 years before I coached it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's unreal.
Yeah. Darren Turcotte was the head coach, who was a former Ranger. But John Cooper, when he was the assistant coach for a year. And now he's coaching the Lightning. So following pretty good
roller history for you.
Yeah. So just to be like the coach, like to say, hey, I'm the head coach and I get to make decisions, and it falls on you either way. As you guys know, if we do bad, it's gonna be all my fault. I don't think anyone realizes how much pressure you have on you in that tournament, because you go to PAMA Pro or Narch or Tours finals, you're not expected to win. Even the snipers aren't expected to win. Like, yeah, you could win, and people think you have a good chance. But if you lose, no one's saying like, "How'd you lose?" It's Alkali's good, Conix is good, Mudcats are good.
Border Cats had a good game.
Yeah,
Border Cats outplayed us. Yeah.
When you go to World Championships, people just think right away. Like Jay Miro's one of my best buddies. We talk every day, and before he'd always say to me, you could bring 5 different teams and you'd win it. And I'm like, Jay, you don't get it. Like, it's not that easy. Like, it's not. And the Czechs are incredible. Like, they're really good. And there's other good teams. Like when we were in Slovakia, I mean, the Swedes were really good. The Finns were really good, and the Czechs. And Canada's good in both. The French are good. Italians are good. So, and everyone is so into it, right, Kev? I mean,
yep.
They have huge crowds. The refereeing is, I don't want to say questionable because they call it the way they call it. It's fair. They just call a lot. So you don't know what you're going to get.
It's just classified in its own league. Like, it's world officiating.
Yeah, it's like soccer.
Again, like you said, it's a little questionable, but based on, world standards, where these guys are coming from, I mean, like, it's just a different class of officiating.
The way we play, doesn't warrant that. PJ DiMartino got a few penalties in one of the first games and he had an issue with the ref. I was like, oh my God, here we go. Like, it was amazing the championship game. The refs didn't call anything that game. That was like probably the first time that's ever happened in World Championships. Like, not one penalty for either team. They let both teams play, which is to our benefit. But smaller rinks, smaller nets, a hot goalie, countries that play together a lot more than we do as a team, that are into it like that. It's different, man. And I don't think people realize. So when we won, when PJ Cavalla scored that goal to put us up, and then, when Billy scored the empty net, it's like I'm on the bench, just like all this energy like flowed out of me, like we did it, like because if you lose, everyone's like, oh, guess Tim can't coach, like that's what it becomes, So there's a lot of pressure to win that tournament, more than anything else, and I'm sure Kevin as a goalie, you feel that pressure right in goal, like you're. You get one goal, it could be the difference against a Czech team with that goalie or whatever, so.
I mean, I might have touched on it in one of our podcasts, but the first game against them, the Czechs, when that guy was on the other side, and you said he played for them in double eyes, some of the saves he made, I literally was sitting there just kind of looking around like this is absurd. Like this goalie is legitimately like an entire another level than almost like any goalie I've seen in the States play the sport. He, Frodic, something like that. Dude, he's like a 96.
96, yeah.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played out of his mind.
Incredible.
It's amazing we
Like,
scored
just-
6 on him in Slovakia. I think we beat him 6-5, but it was regular nets, but he's really good. And
really, really, like really talented.
it's funny, like
Incredibly talented.
when I came, I don't know about how you felt, Kev, but when I came home from that tournament, and I've done both, right? I've done Slovakia, I've done that. I wouldn't change what we do at State Wars because it just wouldn't make sense. But I got to be honest, like, I really like the smaller nets and the smaller rink and the setup of it. It makes for a good game because
Exciting.
it's tough, and I played when I was playing back in the day in the 90s, USARs and stuff. I played in the smaller nets, so I remember those nets from back then. But, it makes the game tougher. It's harder to score, obviously. The game's at low scoring. That small net, like, I remember Travis Snow and I had a conversation before the first game. We were sitting in the stands, just him and I, captain and coach, having a little talk. And we were watching, I think it was Italy play the Czechs the first game. I think that was the first game we watched. And it was close for a while, and Czech scored a couple late. And Travis looked at me and he said, this game's going to be different. The rinks are small. Like, my game, meaning him, is, built around speed and getting around the outs, a lot of things. And he's like, I got to remind myself during this not to get frustrated, like, it's going to be different. And I looked at him, I said, remember this talk, because you're going to get frustrated. Like, and we had talks all tournament because, he played great, but he wasn't the same player that you see in our tournament where he's scoring 1 million goals because they're all over him and it's tighter. So he took his game, in my opinion, to a whole nother level of doing things you normally don't see out of him. Like, he was a workhorse out there.
Oh,
He was
man.
battling
It was
playing
incredible.
defensively. And
The metamorphosis was just, it speaks to him as a player, his hockey IQ. I didn't even know he had this conversation with you prior to that game.
Mhm.
But
Cool.
I mean, you saying that, and I've even alluded to it too. I mean, him and Junior, they were getting a little frustrated.
Yeah.
But the way Travis is, I mean, like, he's just cool as a cucumber all the time. Like, you'll never see his frustration, even though he might be getting upset. But you're absolutely right. Like, you put him on the penalty kill a couple times, and it's like, Travis is on the penalty kill, but it's like, smaller rink. He's got the long reach. He's kind of changing the way he's thinking about things in a very short amount of time.
And it spoke volumes to me of him as a captain, because he wasn't having, by his standards, the best tournament statistically that he's used to having. Maybe, he's not the high scorer of this one, but he's playing great. But him, he's a goal scorer. You want to score goals, but as a captain, you never saw it. Like, he was so positive with the guys and not thinking about his own game, the team, and just, I can't speak enough about him. And then you look at someone like Sigmund, who I thought was the best player in the tournament. And, I don't know if you agree with that, Kev. He'd be my pick of best player in the tournament.
There were and just things like you're alluding to that aren't on the score sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Winning a battle and getting the puck out of danger from like 2 guys who had him like pinned against the wall, making just a very, like, what is an easy pass, not harder than it needs to be. Like, so many little things that he did. And that speaks to, him being selected to the team, because he's familiar with how these countries play on these rinks in an environment the way that we were in.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, that smaller rink setup is perfect for his game. He's shifty. He doesn't have to blow around you. He could stop short, cut the other way, and he uses that rink and slows it down. Someone like Jumbo, even like Jack Combs, that rink to me was like perfect for his game. Like, he's not a speedster. He's strong. He's big. He gets, shifty. But yeah, everyone's got to adjust because we don't play on those rinks. I mean, these other countries, that's the other thing. And I'll be honest, I selected players also knowing that they're used to it. Junior Cadiz used to those rinks. Sigmund used to them. Cavalla used to them. Fox is used to them. DiMartino has played on them. And that's, that changes things because it's different. Anyone that doesn't realize the difference of it is crazy. And we don't play on that here, where the French, the Italians, the Spanish, the Czechs, like, they play on those rinks and those nets. So it's a huge advantage. You wonder, like, how guys will adjust to it, because if they're a goal scorer and they're getting frustrated by missing the net, you don't see much light on those nets, right? I mean, you see it, it's like, and a big guy like Kevin, like, you don't see much, you got to get goalies moving, But yeah, it was great experience, and I love the way that game is played. IHF was great, but IHF at the end of the day, they're an ice hockey group, and they did inline also. These guys are the ones that really live and die for roller hockey. So I'm all about these guys, World Skate and what they're doing, because if this sport is going to get to the next level, get to the Olympics or do something else, it's going to be through these guys, and they live and die this sport, so it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, it's very entertaining to watch as well too. On that court, those small rinks, it's very intense. The game's just a battle the whole time through. So, like you said, it's very exciting to watch, and it brings a whole new excitement to the game.
I don't know if you watched, but when we played France, the playoff game, they scored the first goal, and you would have thought, the roof, exploded, like how loud the building got.
Oh yeah.
And I got to be honest, I'm the kind of guy, like, I love when everyone's rooting against you. Like, I get up for that, just gets you pumped up when everyone's, cheering against you. It's like Rocky and Rocky 4 or something,
Dude, they had a city of France like in the stands that night, and like during their games, like it was incredible. It was amazing.
And I think the best moment of that game was one of their guys, Foxy knows some of them a little bit, and someone like stuck him. I don't know if you remember this, Kev, and they speared him a little bit, and we got an extra penalty.
Yep,
I remember that. On the power play, Fox, and just the emotion after he scored, and the fist pump. It just gets you going. Like you can't not get pumped up for that. Yeah, just a lot of fun stuff.
I could talk about Barcelona and even past worlds all night. I got a lovely lady who's waiting for me, but I wanted to ask one more question. What we were thinking of most memorable games and most dominant teams out of State Wars. I want to ask you, and what is this? This is going to be your 16th year, correct?
Yep.
What's your favorite venue you've been to that you've hosted at?
Good one.
It's a good question. It's funny. I can't just give you one because I like different ones for different reasons. Obviously the Edge in Bensonville, where we had our first 3, will always have a special place to me because we started there. And the main arena with the stadium seating all around was just in the bowl was just awesome. And actually I'd love to go back there one day and have PAMA Pro games on that rink. Then I love the Recplex in St. Peters, Missouri, because of that bowl they have there. It's just awesome. And I love the area.
I got a little banged up the night that game actually happened. So last week I watched that game for the first time.
Which one?
There were so many people there.
Yeah, the championship
there
game?
were so many. There were probably like 400 to 500 people there, I'd say.
Which one? The championship?
Yeah.
Which the rink
maybe
rat
even
black
more.
ice? What, rink rat black ice? I think there was like 2,000. There was about 2,000 there.
Oh, well then there you go. I'm an idiot still.
Yeah.
So
and we had over 1,000 people viewing it too.
Yeah, there were a ton of people there.
Yeah. And then I love Fort Wayne too, because it's a perfect rink for a tournament because you got all 3 rinks next to each other. You got that bar upstairs. You can oversee them all,
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool because you can walk through the whole bar and see every game as well.
Right. And then even Taylor, all the rinks are all really nice. It's got a good common area in the rink. And I wish there was a bar in there and stuff. But the main rink is awesome. So all those rinks, I like them all. We try to pick spots that have all been pretty good. Yeah, so that's it's not the answer you probably wanted. I couldn't give you one, but I like.
No, I mean, like you're saying. I mean,
like asking your favorite child. I can't really give one answer.
I mean, I know I'm my mom's favorite, so I mean, yeah, we can let you get away with that. But no, like you're saying, I only went to like 2 USHL camps in my life. One of them was in Chicago, and my aunt and uncle, my aunt passed away a couple years ago, but they live in Elmhurst, which is right next to Bensonville. So that rink for me, it would be really cool to go back and play some pro games on that.
The Chicago Steel, that was your home rink.
They and I was just gonna say they were announced the champions of the USHL like today or yesterday because of the season. So yeah, maybe get that working in the future. Bensonville.
Now were you trying to ask me the most dominant team ever at State Wars? Is that the other question you were asking me?
Yeah. Is it gonna be that Philly '96 team?
That Crafts team?
Pennsylvania '95. That's what they were.
Oh, 95. Okay.
I think the story's been told a million times, but PA 95 in all the years lost 2 games. The first game ever they played, that they lost to North Carolina 95 in 2005. And then in Chicago, their championship game to Ontario, they lost their last year. They would have won it every year.
10-year-old Tyler Kraft makes me kind of laugh just thinking about it.
Yeah. There's some good videos on your guys' YouTube, like your very first videos of Tyler Kraft, Novak. Who else? Oh, was it David Cotton maybe too as well?
Jason Cotton. David Cotton. There's a couple of them. Yeah, Jason, David.
Yeah, but the one with Kraft, he's pretty funny. I think it's him and one of the Gerger, and they're just it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I like it.
Now and there's been, since then, I mean, there's been some dominant youth teams. I mean, the Michigan 2006 team has been great, like every year. Missouri 05s, the Michigan 05s, the NorCal 2001, which is like Jaden Guzman's team and stuff from Northern California. Yeah. They've been terrific. And even the SoCal 01 teams with Grayson Yara and whatnot, a lot of the Skittles kids, they've had a dominant run for years at State Wars. There's been a bunch of different ones. It's like everything else. It's a business. You love seeing different people win. Like, you don't want the same team always winning. But like PA 95 was funny because they always like raised the bar. It was like everyone just wanted to beat that team. And when Ontario beat them, Tyler's dad, Andrew, was the coach of that team, and he lived for State Wars. Like every year, he'd have me on the phone for hours about the tournament and who they're playing, the schedule, and he'd always be a little nervous, even though he was not nervous, but he was. And that killed him to lose that.
That sounds like Kraft.
I was gonna say it sounds exactly like Crafty.
I heard that guy can't even watch like games when Kraft's playing because he gets too he gets too worked up and he's afraid the worst is gonna happen.
Yeah, his dad's a great guy. He's a character, but he coached that team and he was a big supporter for it. He was one of the first guys to like recruit, like make sure everyone showed up, like got their guys there to try out and be on that team. Like they had a good team. New York was good too. And like the New York team, they had, PJ DiMartino, Josh Wager, Steven Mundinger was the old goalie. I don't know if you remember Steve was the goalie.
Yep.
New York.
At Maine
now.
now.
Maine.
Like
6'10" or whatever he is.
6'7".
Yeah. So,
man, seeing this place for Black Ice was unreal.
Yeah, Daniel Nelson, Chris Stemke. I mean, the old. I coached a lot of those kids. I coached that year, 95. A long time ago. So that was a good birth year.
Yeah. Well, hey Tim, thank you for joining us. Just want to say thank you for sorry about the difficulties earlier.
No, it's fine. It's the virus.
But
the virus.
Yeah. But the COVID kind of interrupted this. But just want to say thank you again for sitting down, talking to us about State Wars, the changes going on, some pro action talk, and Team USA. That was really insightful. Maybe for a lot of people that don't know what's going on right now with State Wars and the pro division, now they can rewatch this and it will be on YouTube. And now people know what's going on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. And obviously everything you guys do at Roll of Dad News. I know this got interrupted this year. Rob came out to our Cali tournament. He was supposed to come out to Winter Wars East with us. And the plan was to have one of you guys at every tournament this year. And I still plan on doing that for State Wars with you guys, getting you guys there, doing a lot of coverage and stuff of the event, along with what we do. But what you guys do is incredible. And the service that you guys are giving to the sport and just awesome. And I hope you guys keep it up. And I know, Kevin, I don't know if he told you, I talked to Rob today a little bit about maybe we might start doing over during this quarantine, a little State Wars podcast during the week, maybe a couple times a week, get some State Wars customers on, just talk State Wars.
That'd be sweet.
What I said.
Thinking about, maybe do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like an hour and a half, like a three guests for a half hour each and just call in and just talk State Wars and just we're sitting around here and
stuff.
What's that?
Some good memories of State Wars.
Just talk State Wars hockey and
Crafty on there.
People aren't doing much, man.
That's what I mean. We get our viewers, and I think you guys have seen that wheel stuff we're doing. We're giving away some prizes during the week.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was pretty cool. This Friday we're going to do a pair of the new Alkali Rebel skates, or top skate. We're going to wheel out. So so far we've done 4 contests. All 4 sold out within like an hour or two. So
those are pretty cool to watch live too.
What's that?
It's pretty fun to watch live too.
Yeah, it's just something to do, and Got to get Greg working. Greg's making earning a paycheck right now.
Yeah,
sitting home,
dude, get the mayor doing something. He can't be shaking hands and kissing babies. He's got to do something else besides texting me while this is going on. So
Yeah. Every time I talk to him, he's doing a puzzle. He's making cookies. He's doing all the,
Testing wine.
yeah, him and his girl bought a house together. So he's always doing, sitting around, and I'll say to him, "Hey, did you watch Ozark? I finished it last night." He goes, "Nah, we're watching it together. I got to wait for her to get home." And I'm like, "Oh, God, really?" So,
Yeah.
I know that game.
yeah. So,
Well,
I
hey,
know that game. Well,
thank you
Timmy,
guys.
thank you again, man. I hope you and your family are doing well and staying safe. Sounds like you've had some good time with them. So I've had some good time with the lady and the pups as well. Rob's had some good time with Grayson, his roommate. So we're all getting by as best as we can, man.
that's all we can do.
That's all
Absolutely.
we can do. Well, thank you
You
again,
guys too.
Tim.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
Thanks, boys.